Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Join us for today's episode of the Utopian Realities Slope, Save Life on Planet Earth Blog Talk Radio show, bringing you solution bearers with practical, proven, scientific ways to help you eliminate global level irradiation and extinction level threats from your body and bringing forward the means to restore and sustain global waters, air, soil, and sentient life. Welcome.
Greetings. This is Ciava, also known as Lisa Wolf, your host. Welcome to the Utopian Realities, from concept to planetary restoration, Slope, Save and Sustain Life on Planet Earth, Earth Aid Now, Saturday Solution Bearers Forum, where we bring you solution bearers who can help us to mend the sacred loop of life. As always, listeners, follow the link to listen to the program and to join the live chat page during the program, and phone 845-277-9359 with questions and comments. Thank you for joining us this Saturday, December 17th, as we continue with ongoing live on-air Saturday Standing Rock Savage Sovereignty Water Protectors Solution Forum in solidarity with Standing Rock. We begin today with Felipe Chavez, who has recently been in Washington, D.C. for the Leonard Peltier Clemency Gathering and is now back in Florida protecting the waters. Welcome, Felipe.
Thank you. Honored to be here. I'd like to comment. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, please, go ahead.
Well, I recall the Dan Sisters because I was pretty involved with Corbin Hardy, which is Shoshone Nation, for the test site for many years, and I can sure relate to the Dan Sisters. They were a part of the support we had there, and also respecting what they were going through and are still going through. I imagine with the forest people, the people who confiscate livestock and make all these laws, that the same ones that were shooting the buffalo, in other parts of the country where they were shooting the buffalo into different areas and then shooting them. So all this relates to genocide that's happening here in this country, and we're talking about other countries, and here we ought to look at ourselves. A lot of times people can look the other way to what's happening here in this country. So it's really important that we all stand up for what's right. We all stand up to support each other. It doesn't matter who's indigenous and who isn't, who's 10% this or 10% that, because we're all part of creation. Everybody is part of creation. We should be concerned about life-sustaining resources that are being desecrated and polluted, contaminated. So I'm glad that there's people out there, and all my love and respect goes to the people who are doing the sacrifice at Standing Rock and anywhere else. I know it's really cold up there, and my heart goes out to the relatives up there for their stand in solidarity. And this is where we believe part of the prophecy is all the tribes coming together. And I mean all the tribes. I mean, I don't care who it is in this world, they came from a tribe originally. Their ancestry came from a tribe. It goes back to biblical times and before. And so let's stop thinking about who's 10% this and who's 100% that. It's a part of, we're all put on this planet together to support, inspire each other, and do what's right. So my heart goes out to all the relatives out there who are standing up at this time, and for those who aren't, those are the ones who should be more concerned about what saving the water. Water is life, and protecting the earth, protecting our Mother Earth from contamination, that we all look the other way for these fossil fuels to take control of us, enslave our people with their laws and paying off the lobbyists, paying off the politicians to pass laws against the people. So I just want to put it right there and let other people respond at this time, and I thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have 2 callers on the line with us. Who else is with us on the air?
Hi, this is
605.
Kate in yeah, hi, this is
I'm
Kate
sorry?
in Black Hills, Dakota.
Oh, welcome, Kate.
Just joining you. I've been listening for a few weeks. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And 519, who is with us?
Hi, this is Bob Challenger. I'm in Ontario. This is my first time on the call.
Welcome, Bob. Welcome.
Thank you.
Felipe, would you
Yeah.
open us with a prayer, if you wouldn't mind?
No, I wouldn't mind at all. Thank you. Look to Kachla. Thank you for bringing these relatives together like this and sharing our love and our concern, our love and respect for each other, being concerned about what's happening to our relatives at Standing Rock and all over the world that there's been oppression. The people over in other parts of the world who are in refugee camps, families who are struggling, families who are being killed like animals, and we want to pray for them, Takashla, and for all the relatives who are going through this storm right now with the weather, and we pray for their safety, we pray for concern, we pray for people up to support Standing Rock, support the water protectors throughout the world, because that's what we're here for, to protect our life-sustaining efforts, Takashla. Thank you for this opportunity, and I pray for all the relatives out there that are showing concern and inspiring each other with dignity and with love and respect for all our relations. Mitakoyase.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Felipe, you've just returned from a journey. Will you share with us about that and what's going on now?
I'd be glad to.
Thank you.
Well, we was there. We occupied a space at Greenville Park. There was 3 of us that occupied a camp there and had a fire, ongoing 24/7 fire. And also, when we was there, one of Leonard Peltier's youngest son, and Shanti also, came and sat around the fire with us one evening. And the next day, we heard that his youngest son had passed, and they were still. And we went in front of the Capitol and that had a big rally in front of the Capitol. I was so proud to see a lot of relatives from Standing Rock that made that journey. And I want to thank Michael and, of course, Chief Leonard Crow Dog, who earned my respect many years ago through my Sundance Day at the Paradise, and for all the relatives that came to D.C. and that went on to Washington to protest in front of the banks and all these places that were asked to leave, and the songs of drum and the songs of all the love that was shared, and the spirit of our ancestors, the spirit of the coming generations, the spirit of those that show concern for our Mother Earth and for show concern for our life and our health and for all these good things in life.
And did you get any response from the administration? Any sense that you heard?
Well, not that I've heard yet, but I'm sure there's people talking about it, because there was definitely a lot of. We was in front of the White House many times with the Help Save Leonard Peltier and other big posters that were made for that purpose. And like I said, there was a lot of people showing concern. Unfortunately, there's so many distractions out there in the world that we can't really focus on priorities or what's really important. There's too many distractions, and people just don't understand the importance of water, how sacred the water is, till there's a catastrophe or something happens. The first thing people reach for is the water. They go to the store and buy out all the water. They don't think about the contamination of the water. They don't think about these fossil fuels contaminating our Mother Earth and life-sustaining energy that provides our blood and everything that we do.
Oh.
I'd like to give other people a chance to talk also. I don't want to just keep talking, okay? Thank you.
All right. Well, let's see if our callers have any questions. Welcome, 605. Do you have a question?
You know, I can't say I do at present, Lisa. I just really align with the words I hear, and thank you.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. And 519, do you have a question?
Hi.
Or anything you'd like to share?
Well, thank you, Lisa. Actually, it was the lady in 605 who advised me that this call would be coming today. And when I heard about that, I said, well, I want to be there and listen. So my main goal is to listen to what's going on. But I guess I could speak about an event that's happening on January 11th around the world. It's called the Rainbow Bridge Unity Event, Pure Intent, and it's about creating a global wave of love from the first time zone in New Zealand across the 24 time zones to Hawaii. And I'm promoting this on social media on Facebook. And I think it's an important event for people to engage in from their own community at 1:11 p.m. in their own time zone.
Wonderful. Where can people find out more about this?
I don't have a website, but I'm on Facebook, and my name is Bob Challenger, Challenger, and the event again is called the Rainbow Bridge Unity Event, Pure Intent. And the Rainbow Bridge is a metaphor, but it's also a physical structure in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Between the Canadian side and the American side, it's a quarter of a mile wide, and that's where I'll be at 1:11 p.m. in the Eastern time zone. And it's about generating a wave of love that starts in the first time zone out in New Zealand, and it grows as it progresses across the planet with individuals in each time zone sending prayers for peace and abundance and harmony across the planet. It's just how I think we need to come together and create a oneness, because there's one creator for all of us, no matter what we're brought up in and what our beliefs are. So thank you to Kate Roberts in South Dakota for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to hear what's going on. I'm going to be listening mostly, Lisa.
Well, thank you so much. That's wonderful. Any comments, Felipe, on that?
Okay, yeah, I'm really thinking right now along the line of that. Well, we was in D.C. I forgot to mention this, but we did unveil a statue of Leonard Peltier and talked a little bit about the history, and I thought that was remarkable. I think every time we have a gathering, when you mention peace and love, it's a time to get everybody in that circle or everybody in that audience to give each other a hug, because that's what it's really all about, for us to come together in unity so we can deal with the problems of the world. If we can come together with love and respect and integrity and all these things that bring us together, then we can move forward and defeat the black snake and all these people out there that have no respect for life, for creation and all that. So I want to stress that whenever we have a gathering, whenever we talk to somebody, and there's a group of people, make sure we mention that. Turn around and give each other a hug, because that's more inspiring, that we touch each other's heart in a good way, so we can move forward with a lot of courage and respect. Thank you.
And Felipe, you're back down in Florida. Do you happen to know tribally what territory you're on? Where you are?
Well, that's kind of hard, because I understand this is Seminole country, but there's different parts of the tribe that live here and there. So it's really hard to go to one person and say, because they're all mostly Seminole here. And right now we're in north central Florida, and there's pipes all over this place going in, and we need more folks down here to help support this, stopping this. Not very many people. I go to the VA, and I talk to people there sometimes in the waiting room, everybody reading their papers and waiting, and I stand up and say, is anybody concerned about the sacred elements, the water that we drink and all this? Or are we beyond that? Why did we volunteer to represent our country for democracy and all this, where we allow these things to happen around us? And I feel like it's not the people who are doing it, it's the ones who are allowing it to happen. They should give that some thought.
Oh. Well, tell me what is going on right now with is it the Sabal pipeline that you are holding vigil on to stop? Can you tell us about that?
Well, as far as I know, like I say, I just got back and I'm dealing with appointments, this and that, because I have some health problems I'm dealing with. But from what I know, since I've been back, is that a sister named Carrie Ford is the main, and I can probably, if you look on Facebook and look up Carrie Ford, she can give you a lot of information because from what I understand, there's more camps going up here and there to stop the pipeline. So I can't, if you would call her, because like I say, she has the more up to date of what's happening in this area. And I don't know if you've interviewed her or not.
No, I would like to.
Okay, well I'll try to get you her phone number, and after this is over, I'll try to get your phone. If you call me back, or I'll call you and back and give you her phone number, and she can fill you in on what's happening.
Okay, wonderful. Because the waters are being threatened down there as well. So
it's really amazing how lack of interest people show here. Even the people who are running these health food stores and all these places that are in business making money and not being aware of standing up for the sacred elements of the water, and it's amazing how people just are blind to it, or just don't want to listen to it, or don't want to put any effort into this. I'm saying this to America, to the world. Be aware of what's happening to our land. Be aware of, in 1980 there was a Black Hills International Survival Gathering that happened in Rapid City, South Dakota, where a brother that's gone on to the spirit world named John Trudell talked about the sacred elements and how at some point in life, I don't know, I might not witness that, I hope not, but at some point in life that mankind will not be able to have the ability to survive on the earth because the earth will purify herself. And I really believe that. I believe that we contaminate the earth so much that maybe I won't witness that, but my children and grandchildren are being exposed to all these things that will occur. And they're talking about more nuclear weapons, more nuclear energy, and we've been fighting nuclear energy for many, many years now. And we see that nuclear energy is obsolete. It really is, and now they're doing other ways of fracking and doing all these things that are throwing the axis of the earth off rhythm and everything, and we wonder why we're having these storms. I think it's part of the earth purifying herself, and mankind has a lot to be responsible for. So it's time people wake up. Whoever you are, don't stop talking about it, because there's people out there that are listening. And if they start listening, maybe they'll start reacting to what's really happening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Lisa, may I respond to Felipe's comments?
Yes, please.
Oh, I totally agree with him. And this year I was actually in Florida doing water ceremony on the Waxahachie River, and I became aware of the amount of pollution that's being created in Lake Okeechobee, the big lake in the middle of Florida. And I think there are people that are stepping forward and doing water blessings. I was part of a big event that happened on June the 4th called the Simultaneous Worldwide Water Blessings. That was created by, this event was created by a Maori elder in New Zealand. And we just need to keep getting the message out, as Felipe is doing. And there's many. Carol Blodgett from Connecticut, who was out in North Dakota at Standing Rock, she lives her life for water. Water is life. And we just need to continue putting the message out there, and eventually the rest of the world, or at least enough of the world will pay attention to make a difference. I was very involved in the first International Earth Day on April 22nd, 1990, and I've seen the progress that's been made with people becoming aware. And once they're aware, I've noticed that generally people will change what they're doing to make it a better world. So I just think we have to keep talking our talk and walking our talk. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
You know, we keep coming back to the issue of savage sovereignty as a solution. And, you know, the tribes, to my understanding, were largely egalitarian and, you know, didn't judge people based on their color, but treated all people as relations. And I wanted to move into the savage sovereignty portion of the program by reading a thought for the day, which was shared with me. And it says, I find it really odd that most Americans are so colonialized that they question whether we would all be better off if the Americas returned to savage sovereignty, or if the Americas are really Indian lands, or that somehow the Constitution and U.S. states' rights or anything else grants the land rights to colonialists, i.e. U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, the federal government, state governments. I mean, people actually question whether a stolen land ought to be returned to the rightful custodians who were planted here by Creator. Like everyone who came over on the Pope's Doctrine of Discovery coattails wants to believe you or I could ever, outside of belonging to a sovereign tribe, own this land. Weird. And questioning whether it would be better or not, the return of the clan mothers and true tribal government and the authority to the heirs to the Americas, to the savages, those who live amongst the trees by legal definition. It gives us a chance to save life on planet Earth. And it was like that peacefully for thousands of years. So why would it be a problem now? Kind of a provocative statement.
Wow. I'll respond to that if I can.
Sure.
You know, back in 1978, the first longest walk happened. It was put on by the American Indian Movement. I happened to be on that walk towards the end of it. I wasn't at the beginning, but I recognized the manifestos that talked about what you're talking about sovereignties and all these things, but nothing has changed in all these years. We've been working towards that. We've been praying for that through our ceremonies, through our prayers. We've been praying that someday that people will you know, colonialism, they don't teach, in the first place, they don't teach the truth in school, you know. Everybody was considered that Columbus was a big hero. Well, we know he wasn't. He was a tyrant. He killed a lot of our people, a lot of our relatives. He enslaved them and butchered them for looking for gold. So a lot of things should start from telling the children the truth of what's the history of this country, the history of the people that came from other countries and enslaved our people. And it's still happening here with this fossil fuels and all that, with the rich people, the people of banks investing in all these, the pipeline and all these things. This is something that we have to approach, that we have to change. This is something we're talking about. And that word savage, I know the brother gave me the definition of that, but a lot of people don't interpret it that way. You know what I mean? A lot of times savage is using it derogatory. Yes, I know, sir, but what I'm saying is a lot of people don't understand when we say savages, because it puts a different energy into it because not everybody understands the true definition of it. It's my point, see?
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Yes. It is
This is
it is the
Bob.
legal.
This is Bob in Ontario. I'd like to know what the definition of savages is, Felipe.
Well, it's a
Well,
legal
I think Felipe can
definition.
explain that. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's a legal definition. It's ancient, and it goes back to the Treaty of 408 with the Visigoths. That is legally how the people of the Americas are defined. It's a term of power. It means those who live amongst the trees, those
So
who
the First
live
Nations,
according to the natural order.
It's about the First Nations.
I think yes, it is.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
It's a compliment. it's a word of power. Actually, it is the true term in the law for people of the original people of the Americas, and it takes one out of prisoner of war status, which truly is, to my understanding, the solution. And why hasn't it happened? In part, I think, Felipe, because it really requires returning to the original form of custom, tribal usage and religion and the clan mothers. And
I really respect what you're saying, but my point was that not enough people understand the definition, because we heard negative things. It could be from the movies and old history or whatever, but you know what I mean. As a child, when somebody called you a savage, that was an insult because we didn't really understand the true meaning of that. That was my point earlier. And I'm not saying it's not right. I know it's right, and the way that you and that brother explains it, I really respect that. But what I'm saying is we have to educate people out there what the truly meaning of savage is, because sometimes it's used in a derogatory manner. Thank you.
And listeners, if you want to receive the teachings of Meredith Quinn, where things like the definition of savage are outlined, email me at lisajwolf@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you documentation.
Okay. Lisa, it wouldn't hurt to post that somewhere so other people can read it, can see. We should make that a news flash or something so other people will understand.
This episode, Circle members, Felipe and callers, much of it is pre-recorded because Eagle couldn't be with us today. He actually is working. And so I did an interview a few days ago with he and a sister named Distance, who is at Standing Rock and is pursuing legal recourse. She got arrested. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to play that recording because, really what we're getting into is how to help both the tribe, the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota, and those people standing up with them who've been charged and are facing the Morton County court system. So, Felipe, anything else that you want to say right now before we go into that portion of the program? And listeners, you may find it somewhat boring because it's a discussion of law and terms and things like that. But I ask everyone to listen patient, and we're going to listen to an excerpt also of a talk by the late Meredith Quinn, the international legal advisor who was himself Dakota and the grandson of the last great Dakota matriarch.
You want me to say something?
If you want to.
Okay. Well, I just feel like when we address people, our relatives, we shouldn't say those people are our people. We should say our relatives. Because there's too much separatism by our words. We start saying, well, that's why I say, well, they say, well, we're not our first American Indian movement walk I went on. There was that kind of energy. If you're not 100% this, you go to that camp over there. And that was kind of an insult to some relatives that didn't really know where their heritage or their culture came from, who their ancestors from. The American Indian movement was here also to educate a lot of relatives to stand up and be proud of who you are. See, and a lot of times, and even listening to John Tordell speak in 1980, the Black Hills Survival Gathering, saying that we are all part of creation. We are all spirit. We are all energy. And looking at each other as relatives. I really respect Chief Leonard Crodock because whenever he addresses somebody, he says relative because we are. And that's something we should really speak about sometimes about that. Instead of saying, well, you're this or you're that, relative. That's really a compliment in a very beautiful, respectful way. And I thank you.
Yes. And that's why, we at Rainbow, everyone with a belly button, we're all related. We're all related.
Lisa, may I add to that? This is Bob in Ontario.
Yeah, sure, brother. Sure.
Okay. So there's no question about it. We are all related. We have, look at our genealogy. We have 2 parents. We have their blood and DNA. We have 4 grandparents. We also have their blood and DNA. And every generation you go back, you double the number of people who are in your direct ancestry, and you have their blood and DNA. So just going back 200 years and taking, like it goes 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. We have all of those people that are our direct ancestors who we have the blood and DNA of, and the generation before that is 512. It doubles every generation, so we are all related. And I got to tell you, I'm coming from a family that would be considered colonists. They came from England, and but I've spent the last 30 years of my life understanding that we need to get over that. And I look to the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, how they came together and solved the problem amongst those 5 warring tribes: the Mohawks, the Oneidas, the Onondagas, the Seneca, and the Cayuga, and the Seneca, east to west. And they created peace with the White Pine Tree of Peace ceremony about 900 years ago on Onondaga Lake. And that peace just spread across America, from past the Mississippi out to the Pacific Ocean. And one of the greatest things they did as they formed that Confederacy of the Iroquois was to, instead of having the eldest son of the chief become a new chief when the chief died, they gave the right to the women to vote in the new chief. And that brought compassion and love and tolerance, and it spread, and we need to think about that. And I respect everyone, and so thank you for letting me share my views.
Thank you, brother.
And I will mention, Felipe brought up at the start of the program grandmother Carrie Dan and Corbin Harney, and truly there's a discussion happening right now as the Dan Ranch they could lose it, which was kind of the plan all along, to harass the Dan sisters over their horses and their cattle, and claimed they owed all of this money for grazing rights on their own territorial land. And it may be that we'll be able to go forward with reestablishing the outer sovereignty, so to speak, of Carrie Dan and her Nui clan, at which point the U.S. courts have no jurisdiction over the ranch. And we may be able to, in this area here, test this hypothesis that seems to be working for the tribe that Evil Eye Man is adopted into. And for myself, literally, I am looking at being adopted in order to become part of that true confederation, which you just described, Bob. I told people said, who did you vote for? And I said, well, I didn't vote for either of the corporate candidates. I'm in alignment with the sovereign tribes, living in accordance with the Algonquin-Iroquois peace principles. I feel that is the way forward. And, you know, I've said to Carrie for years, what would happen if the lands were acknowledged to be Indian land? What happens then? What happens then? You know, when the Indians are the landlords. And I don't think many people really think of it. But it's something to ponder. Because I think, you know, I would imagine environmentally, if you have people who are connected to the earth and have a true stewardship understanding of how we're to live and can make decisions and say yay or nay, this is good for the earth, this is not good for the earth, that could change things remarkably.
Yes, something I really respect all this, but
Go ahead, Felipe.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. I'll wait. You finish. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, I've been very involved since the first International Earth Day in April 22, 1990. And I've been dealing with, I'm in Canada, so I've been dealing with the issues that you're speaking about, and I totally agree. But I think instead of saying that the Indians were, and I don't think this has really been said, that they were the owners of the land, they're the custodians of the land. They look after the land. And we need to go from thinking about, because I was involved with a gentleman up here, a Mohawk by the name of Danny Beaton, and he created something called Project Indigenous Survival. And I said to Danny, you don't want to survive. You want to change that to Project Indigenous Restoration. Go back to the way it was. And he agreed, and he changed the name to Project Indigenous Restoration. So let's talk about restoration rather than just survival. We don't want to survive. We want to thrive. And we'll do that by restoring the values that the indigenous people have held forever. And, of course, the American government took the essence of the Iroquois Confederacy and formed their government based on their values. And this is a fact. You can research this. And the Founding Fathers invited the Haudenosaunee chiefs the night before they signed the Declaration of Independence, or one of the major. I'm in Canada, so I don't know it all exactly. But they invited them to come and be honored for what they had created, the Confederacy. So thank you again for listening.
Yes, thank you, Bob.
I'd like to commend that, brother. I really respect I understand some history of the Iroquois. I don't know a lot about it, but I have friends that are from that part of the country. I'm originally from Arizona, but we understand about the clan mothers selecting a chief and all this, and we represent our people. But we know that what happens in Washington, they pass laws against our people all the time. And I use that term relatives all the time because it's not just indigenous to this land and from our ancestors, but it's indigenous to the people who came from other parts of the world and we're talking about Wells Fargo, all these banks. These people pass laws. The lobbyists are just like the cartel. They pass laws to benefit the people who they represent. And that's why we've lost a lot of our freedoms as human beings to walk this planet. As spirits to walk this planet, I'll say it like that, okay? Well, as human beings also to live in the woods or wherever we want to. And we know that our government is so corrupt, and not just here in this country. We was in D.C. A year ago, Thanksgiving, and we walked to the Canadian Embassy, and there were sisters there to talk about the sisters being violated, our relatives being violated in Canada, and there was a big issue about that. I don't know if anything's, come together about that, but there's so many things that we can talk about or be aware of, but we know that the main purpose, the main reason that we're losing our rights as human beings, as spirits who walk this planet, is because of the laws that are passed by the greedy ones. We call them aliens because they don't have no soul, and you know what I mean by that. The same thing with these oil companies. It's all a part of a big movement to annihilate genocide. It's called genocide to liquidate, to shut us up and keep our spirits from being free. So this is all a part of it. So the main issue is that we have to find people that represent our people that don't sell out. Because once they get up there, they forget about where they came from. They forget about our people, our tribes, whatever. So this is a big issue. We've been dealing with this for many, many years, and nothing's really changed. And we see how corrupt the politicians are, how this whole conventions and all this went, and we know that there's other people in the world that are doing the same thing in different parts of the world. We think about the people who are right now fleeing countries, their families being killed because they're Christians or this or that. It's a form of genocide, not just throughout the world, but here in this country also. That's what Standing Rock is all about, is taking people's lands, the Dan Ranch, taking people's lands and charging them money for their own land, for their own stock, grazing. All this is a part of a big conspiracy. And this is something we have to be aware of, our reality. This is a reality that's happening. So we can go back in history and say, well, according to this and that, but we know in our hearts it's not going to be easy. But I ask people to have the courage and the strength to stand up. It's really important that we stand up, especially now that there's so many things happening in this world. Just put some prayers out there that you have courage, the courage of the bear, to stand up and be strong and be proud of who you are and look around and help our relatives who are struggling. Thank you.
Well, as a Canadian, Felipe, I want to say that I agree with you totally on what's been happening to the Indigenous women and children on the West Coast. And our former Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, refused to look into an inquiry about what's going on that way. And now we have a new government with Justin Trudeau, who's a Liberal, and he has created a cabinet that's equal in men and women, and is planning to do something about the horrible atrocities that have taken place against the Aboriginals, and it was pure genocide. But that information needs to be
Mr. Trudeau. I understand that Mr. Trudeau is in part Indigenous. He is a cousin of Chief Zane Bell, who you may know. Bob.
Okay. But Lisa, we all have Indigenous in our background. And I go back to what I said about 200 years. 256 people. We have their DNA and their blood, and so and I know that my ancestors from Newfoundland are Mi'kmaq, and so my grandmother was a Mi'kmaq. But we all are part. Pure bloodlines don't exist. Okay, get that right. No matter who says they have 100% of a nation, they don't know all the people in their DNA and their lineage. But we are all related, and we all need to look after one another. And I'm so glad I'm on this call. Thank you.
Yes. It's funny. I in helping teach the practicalities of how to return sovereignty of the original peoples of the Americas for the healing of the earth and the mending of the sacred hoop. It's actually pretty precise, and besides choosing the clan mothers and making sure that ceremony is being done in traditional tribal custom and usage, there are letters that are written. There's public proclamations that are made in the hope and the vision of returning power and authority to the original peoples and moving out of the domestic court system, where when an indigenous person goes into the domestic court, they're going in as a prisoner of war. So if you don't mind, gentlemen and lady, I'm going to begin the pre-recorded section of the program. Any of you have anything further that you want to say right now?
I have in front of me right now, Lisa, the manifesto that we were presented in 1978 in Washington, D.C. It all relates to treaties, it relates to sacred grounds, it relates to the Nevada. All these places have been contaminated. Like we know the Nevada test site was built, part of it was built on Western Shoshone land. Also, the Nevada Yucca Mountain, which is where they store the nuclear waste that we've been protesting for many years, is also built on Western Shoshone land. So this is something that the government here, we can't really say that. I don't blame you for not voting for bad and worse, because this year the campaign for people to represent the people, we know they don't really represent the people when they get up there. But this whole manifesto talks about sovereignty. It talks about, this has been for many, many years now, generations we've been talking about it, but we have not had any progress on most of these things. I just wanted to read. You can go ahead and play that now if you'd like.
And that's why we're really blessed that Eagle Eye Man has been empowered by the clan mothers and chiefs up there to step forward and share how to do this. It's a new day, and I'm very hopeful.
Thank you.
Oh. So I'm going to, Bob, anything else you'd like to say right now? Otherwise, I'm going to let us begin listening to this teaching conversation.
Well, I think the concept of sovereignty for the indigenous people is incredibly important, but it's really incredibly important for all the peoples of the planet to take their sovereignty. No matter what culture they've been raised in, no matter what government they're under, they need to get sovereignty as well. Everybody on the planet. And I was shown the future. I know this during my lifetime.
Thank you, brother.
Go on, Bob.
Um, um, well, on December 31st, 1986, I was on the first World Healing Meditation, and I was in Mexico at the time, and I was taken out of my body at a certain time and shown the condition of the earth and how horrible it was in so many third world countries around the world. And then I was shown another vision where everything was 180 degrees from that, everything worked. And I was told that this change would happen during my lifetime and that I would play a pivotal role in helping to make that happen. And I have been working with that vision for 30 years, December 31st, 86, and I know we're on the right path, even though, you know, if you watch the news, you're not going to get any of that, because the news is controlled by a certain segment of society, of our culture, called the Cabal or the Illuminati, and they don't want this information out. But it's going to happen no matter what, and I know it's coming. So that's all I need to say. That's all I want to say now, anyway. Thank you.
And this council happens every Saturday from 12 to 2, and you are most welcome to return.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to add a little bit of something with these brothers. You know, I'm 78. You know, I'm an old man, but I witnessed the Second World War. I was a young kid when that was happening, and then the Korean War, then the Vietnam War, then the Iraq War, and all this was. And, you know, these relatives been saying, well, this general, Crowley, I forget his name, that said that war is a racket. Well, we understand that weapons in war are usually controlled by the people who have a lot of money that want to make more money. So I understand, and I hope that, I agree with this brother, I hope in my lifetime I witnessed that, but I feel like we're here to spearhead, perhaps, to spearhead and bring a lot of people along with us. It's like planting a seed and having that grow into leaves and branches and all that, and have that grow with awareness that we are all here together, that we're all part of creation, and we all have a spiritual awareness with each other, a spiritual connection with each other through creation. So I want to really stress that out to people, because sometimes there's so many distractions. There's so many distractions nowadays. It could be a cell phone, could be TV, could be a lot of things that we don't sit and communicate with each other anymore like we used to, when there wasn't so many distractions around. We don't even have a conversation with each other anymore. So I want to stress that out, because we have to educate a lot of these young kids that are getting the wrong message in school. We have to tell them, well, no, this is reality, what we're talking about, survival, reality, and creation, and we're all part of it. We are spirit, we are energy, and we should all think along that line. Thank you.
Yes.
And of course, there is one creator for everybody on this planet. No matter what belief system you have, no matter what culture you're brought up in, there's one creator for us all, and that will bring us together once that's real.
Thank you.
Felipe, question. Are you holding camp? So you're holding camp. You had talked a few weeks ago about inviting people down there for the winter. Is that, and I know at gatherings as well as doing Kitty Village, you've traditionally done the indigenous camp as well. Is that still unfolding?
Well, I've been moving around so much, but what I was inviting is people that are up north in Standing Rock, and I know there's people up there that really can't deal with the harsh weather, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's some people that can do it and some that can't, you know, some that are pretty fragile. And so I'm asking the folks up there that can't deal with the cold, they can do the same thing down here, because we need energy down here also. We need folks to come down here and, pray with us and stand with us. And I think that would be a solution to people, instead of just going home, come down here. But come down here with a good heart and the spirit of what the purpose of this is. Thank you.
And For people who are interested in answering that call, Felipe, what is the best way to get in touch? How can they connect with you?
Well, you get in touch with Carrie Ford. She's one of the directors down here. I have a lot of faith in her. Carrie Ford, and now, like I say, I'll give you that information when I hang up, or I'll call you back and give you the phone number. But she's been carrying a lot of this, and there's a brother named Peter also that's been coordinating a lot. And I think exchanging ideas, things could get a lot more stronger down here. We need a lot more energy and awareness down here than up at Standing Rock. I mean, they're getting a lot of support, which they deserve a lot of good support. But I'm saying there's relatives down here that need support. They need support, and come with a good heart. Don't bring any problems with you. Don't bring any drugs or alcohol, especially. We don't need that. We're on a spiritual quest here to liberate our relatives and liberate the water, save the sacred water, and so we can all exist on this planet together.
Oh. Thank you.
Oh.
All right. Bob, anything else you'd like to say right now?
Well, I want to know the Carrie Ford. How do you spell her first name?
Carrie, why don't can you have my phone number, call me back. I want to make sure I spell all her name right, and I have it written down somewhere.
I got a pen in my hand. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, my number is 352 870 6812.
6812. Great. Okay, well, my number as well is 519-221-8232.
Hang on just a second. Okay, would you repeat that, please?
Yes, 519-221-8232. 221-8232.
Just a minute. 519-221. What's the last
No, 8232. 8232.
8232.
I'll call you after we...
519. Yeah, okay. You got my number now. You call me,
Hey,
then I'll give you the other number.
After this, I'll call you right away. Thanks for the...
Okay, then. You're breaking up really bad right now. I don't know if it's my phone or what, but anyway.
Okay, could be...
Lisa, I'm going to have to get off the phone.
Okay, Felipe.
Okay. Thank you for doing this. I really love and respect everybody out there. Let's all come together in spirit, body, and soul, and be aware that our mission in life is to make this planet, this world, a better place for all our relatives out there. Some that don't even deserve it, probably, but we're going to pray for them too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
All right. So now we're going to begin listening to a conversation between Eagle Eye Man and Sister Distance on the legal issues facing the water protectors at Standing Rock and the path forward. I don't know if we'll get all the way through the recordings, but we will start now.
Greetings, this is Siava, also known as Lisa Wolf, your host. Welcome to a special conversation between Eagle Eye Man and Distance that will be aired on Saturday as part of the Standing Rock Savage Sovereignty and Water Protectors Weekly Council. Eagle couldn't be with us live on Saturday, and so I felt it important for he and Distance to have a conversation about the solutions available under the law to Standing Rock to stop the black snake and return true sovereignty to the land so we can see the mending of the sacred hoop in our lifetime while there's still time to save life on planet Earth. Welcome, Eagle.
Good morning.
And welcome, Distance.
Good morning.
So, Distance, could you give us, from your understanding, what is going on the ground, so to speak, with a legal response in defense of the water protectors?
In a way I can, but I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a civilian spreading knowledge that I like to vacuum up like we do and disseminate. But I'm not part of the water protector legal team, so just want to make that clear. But let's see. From what I see, it seems like every time that people come up to the front line utilizing their First Amendment right, that the officers, or maybe it's the state attorney probably that's there, could be Lad Erickson, that was the Amy Goodman case, that was the name of the state attorney that was there. So it seems like the state attorney shows up to try to fabricate accusations that the people are rioting. And there's a lot of, we do have thankfully several pieces of video footage from frontliners where it's very clear there's no riot happening, and they're using these fabricated charges to abrogate the people's First Amendment right and persecute them or prosecute them. And a lot of the people there, this generation and previous generations, we weren't taught anything about the courtroom. I think that is something that's dire for this generation right now. Is we know that we have right, or we're told that we have right, but when it comes down to going into the courtroom, we're dependent often on attorneys that work for the state, or we don't know if we can trust them, because it's like it becomes a confusing situation when you've got a state-appointed attorney, a state bar attorney, that is accusing people of rioting. Then it's like, then we're a lot of times when people are going into the courtroom, they're getting sheets of paper. This is what I witnessed and what happened with me when I was arrested, is that we get a contract at the courtroom that was prepared to us by what appears to be prepared to us by the state attorney. And in that contract, there's a whole bunch of check marks, and it says things like, I will stay away from DAPL employees both directly or indirectly. And one of the things that was, I will accept a state-appointed attorney. So it makes trusting these, not only is it the officers that there's a big thing of distrust, because it's like, even, I mean, just so many things are being denied, and then we watch Kyle Kirschmeyer on Facebook say something that didn't happen that tries to spin us into a bad light, and then the echo chamber of media repeats it. And some of the media has been really good to us. I don't mean to say all media has been bad. And then, so let's see, I would say, but for instance, when I went into the courtroom, I was given that same sheet of paper, and I knew a little bit, sorry about that.
That's all right.
I was given that same sheet of paper, and I didn't have to, that's my ringtone, and I wasn't made to sign it, but everybody else that I know went into there was made to sign it. Before they left the courtroom, they agreed to accept a state-appointed attorney and to stay away from DAPL employees directly or indirectly. And I'm thinking that the indirectly has something to do with online sharing and whatnot. So I think they're trying to wind people into coercive contracts. And so there's some that's on the direct front line, and then there's other parts in the courtroom that people don't really witness out there if they're not here. And is that what you were asking, or is there anything in particular you'd like me to?
Yes, but I'm wondering if you have any assessment of the legal strategies being promoted by those who are writing the briefs, say for the hearing, or, what is their defense? Under what grounds are they defending themselves? Do you have an understanding of that?
Let's see, I don't know what the legal team is actually doing, the ones that are writing those briefs. I'm mostly coaching people on their option for pro se litigation, meaning if you go to the North Dakota District Courthouse website, if you type in pro se civil litigation handbook, there's a free handbook you can download, which teaches you, if you don't have a lawyer or attorney, how to file on your own behalf. So pro se, that's what that means, is on your own behalf. And for myself, generally, what I would suggest doing is, there's a thing called a tort form, which is basically a bill saying, you damaged me, this is how much you owe me. And we are doing a lot of strategizing, but until we get everything in line, we're not ready to file the tort forms to Board of Supervisors. So the tort is, like when I was out in California, you can go to a lot of county courthouses and you type in liability claim or tort form, download, and then whatever county it's in. And there's a free downloadable form. I noticed here in Morton County there is no downloadable form, so I've been making one from scratch using the one that's out west.
Nice.
But if you don't know you have that option, then
Yes.
you wouldn't know. So basically, what's that?
Oh, I just want to tell listeners, I just experienced something like that. A friend of mine was charged with something, and the person who initiated the charges understood that he had provoked it, and I went and found what's called an affidavit of non-prosecution, and the person who had precipitated the charges, even though it had already been picked up by the state, when he filed his affidavit of notarized, I had him get it notarized and faxed to the public defender because it had to be filed by an officer of the court. Within a week of their getting it, the state dropped the case because there was no longer a plaintiff. So yes, people, we have to be creative and thinking ourselves.
Yeah, that's it. Wow, so yours was an affidavit of non-prosecution?
Yes, and I found a form from Texas and modified it for Nevada.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we gotta do. And then, so yeah, I was told by the law librarian up in Nevada County, California, she said, so the first thing you do is file the tort. If it was the city police, for instance, one person would bring it to the city hall, to that clerk, and if it was the county, then it would be the county board of supervisors or board of directors.
Well,
and so
make sure, depending on the venue, like I say, I found I couldn't file the non-prosecution form or the gentleman who had signed it. It had to go through the public defender. So if you guys are coming up with forms for things that are, subject to that maritime court, you may want to go through, use your public defenders that way.
yeah.
Let them file the papers for you so it's all legal schmeagle. And
Yeah.
they can't say you filed it improperly.
Yeah.
Where those people have been given jurisdiction over you, so to speak. Until you're able to change status, which is where I'd like to. Eagle, thoughts, comments. I think that distance has given us a pretty good picture, if not of the defense strategies of the hearing team.
Yeah, well, I find it interesting when you were saying about that form they were making people sign and to have a state-appointed attorney. See, there's a legal reason for that, very simple one. Right? The moment you have an attorney, you become his client, and a client is a ward of the court. And if you know what a ward is, someone of an unsound mind or a minor, an infant, that needs a guardian to be appointed to take care of them, right? See, the very act of having an attorney, a lawyer, puts you under their jurisdiction. You just said, I don't know the law, or I have, that's why I've got this guy to speak on my behalf. And that's from the cops jurisdictum. You can find, like, where it breaks that down. Client means you're a ward of the court. So that's where people are deceived right off the get-go, and a lot of times it's because they run to get a lawyer in the first place, right? Which touches on the subject of what you said about people not knowing how to, there's a technical term for that as well, it's called waging your own law. People no longer know how to wage their own law.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And they show you a lot of this in the Western movies. It seems like if you look at a lot of the populace, how they're depicted in those times, were a lot more aware of their rights and how to go about waging their own law, literally. The reason I point out movies is because the government has openly told the populace that they will communicate with them through the medium of theatre, movie theatres. Not news, you know what I mean? That's theatre, but movie theatres as well, right? Which is what they do. You know, right back to the Wizard of Oz movie is all about the law as well. Literally, symbology, the esoteric knowledge that's portrayed at different points, the entire thing. They've been communicating with you through the movies. So, in regards to pointing that out, I'm just trying to think, movie I wanted to reference there. Oh, you ever seen the movie True Grit? The original one was with John Wayne and what have you, but they brought out a new one a few years back.
No.
And in that new movie, near the beginning, it's when that guy's daughter, the young girl, whatever that hires them, is talking with the lawyer. It was a dad's lawyer or something, and he had her dad's saddle and a few other things like that. And she goes in to talk with him, and initially he's claiming that she owes him, X amount of money and blah, 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 and things like that. And you listen and watch that movie, that girl goes about waging her own law. I think she even uses that term, well, I have to wage my own law then. And she talks of different things. When the lawyer brings up one point, she says, well, I'll have to issue a writ of reclaiming, for example. She names off different writs at different points, like when the lawyer tries to, she just counters with the correct legal, standing. She ends up walking out of there, obviously, with the saddle, and the lawyer owes her money, right? But that's the point that people, like you were saying, they don't have that ability, or even the concept of waging their own law. Because they're brainwashed into, well, you need a lawyer, get a lawyer, right? The very first thing. That's absolutely the last thing you want to do, is have your own lawyer. Just the very act of becoming his client makes you non-competent, mentally unsound. You don't know the lawyer.
Can I add something? Oh, sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
Thanks. That's wonderful insight. I was hoping to add something from the front line just to give you a wider lens of exactly what's happening, because this has just been something new. When I went into my court case, I told the judge that I cited several case rulings which state that we have not only an assumed right to film public officials and police officers, but that there's another case, police lack the authority to prevent a civilian from filming public officials so long as they're not interfering. Well, I had a friend who went in there, and they went to go film under a different judge, Judge Hill, and at the very beginning of it, when they came in with their camcorders, he said, all the camcorders and cameras need to be shut off. You can apply for an expanded media coverage to be able to film. And then I had some friend that applied did a motion for expanded media, and it got denied. And I had an experience like this in Nevada County as well, where I cited the First Amendment right to film, and then I would like to film I was planning on filming the case. Let me back up. So when I was here, this judge, he affirmed my right to film, and I was actually told by a lawyer here that I needed to file a motion for expanded media, and I said, no, we have a First Amendment right to film, and they said, I strongly suggest you, here's your First Amendment, or your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, I felt like if you can see plain as day what the law actually states, and if your representative is telling you not to do that thing and that that's not an option, that person's fired. But anyway, so I just got a copy of this policy picked up because they denied my friend's right to film. And what I learned out in California as well is anytime I approach the secretary or clerk for anything, I film. And it's not necessarily always public, but it's always for public safety. So, because there's things that they're required to do, like sign, stamp, and date a copy of a motion that gets filed to prove so that you have evidence that you filed it that day. So they don't say, oh no, we never got that. Because you never know who's working behind the desk. And so that way if they don't do it, you have evidence that they didn't do it, and that kind of sets up a federal case. Anyway, so they got this policy now to saying that you can't film, and so I'm going to take this policy and we're going to red circle all these sections in it where they're basically what their strategy is with this is they're trying to get people to, instead of exerting their First Amendment right to film the proceeding, instead they're trying to get people to file a request so that way they can deny it, and now they've got a contract, now they got you signed into a contract, and through equity law that contract will hold up. And so I would rather, and what we're going to do is we're going to circle in red all of the sections within their policy which are being used to abrogate the First Amendment right of civilians in such a way that actually endangers us and violates federal law. And they might say gets into the difference between public policy and public law. Everybody in a town can vote that the First Amendment is restricted only to one city block, and on that block you can do it, but it's not really, that would be the public policy then. But then if somebody got arrested for stepping outside that block and for using their First Amendment in the wrong place or saying something that wasn't supposed to be said, and when I say First Amendment, I'm mean, in alignment with the preamble. Some people say, well, I can say whatever I want because it's the First Amendment, but if you say something that endangers a large group of people, that's not in alignment with the preamble. That doesn't promote the general welfare of all people, and it's not in mutual defense of all people. But if you're actually speaking up something that's really a vital, pertinent issue that people need to hear, like this whole case is, then it appears to me that their policy is being used to prevent the public from having knowledge that is vital, and it sets up a situation where they can possibly do things to us that are very illegal, and if we go to report it, it's going to be hearsay, our word against their word. One second. So what I'm going to do is circle all these sections in their media policy which are being used to attempt to get water protectors to waive our First Amendment right to film the proceedings, and then basically it's going to be a cease and desist order. We're going to point it out to them that it is illegal, and if we need to, we'll end up suing the county for having a deprivation of rights under color of law, United States Code. This code violates that. It's that deprivation of rights under color of law. You may have heard me on the last program. When any person uses the appearance of law, the color of law, in any statute, code, ordinance, policy, custom, anything that looks like a law in order to deprive people of their constitutional rights is a deprivation of rights under color of law or color of law crime. So that would be a situation where a federal agent would come in and make the arrest of those who participated, not only in drawing up this illegal policy, so that we can have due process, and the federal system is generally looks like is more of an evidentiary-based system. You got to show evidence, whereas these lower courts are based around slander, coercion, escalation. I mean, they're for-profit corporations, according to my research.
So, Eagle, your thoughts on these strategies?
Well,
Here we go.
I understand where you're coming from. Distance, and like you say, to the best of your understanding so far, right? But this is the thing, right? There's a whole other layer of law, level of law supremacy, okay? See, there's technically, right, there's a number of problems with your position that you're stating, like what you want to do, like relying on the Constitution, things like that. For one thing, you are not a party to the Constitution. It has nothing to do with you. Another thing, you're not one of the people either. See, when I talk, we're talking English right now, as most people understand it, right? What they don't realize, though, is that English is based on the Roman Latin, literally, in its legal sense, the terms, okay? And that's where the deception comes in, when the Indian said the white man spoke with forked tongue. That's an exact legal truth, because words and terms, words can be expanded and contracted. Like, for instance, you know how one word can mean more than one thing, many different things. But a term can only mean one thing exactly, that alone. And the reason for that is contract law, because you have to have a common meeting of the minds and understanding of the terms. It's got to mean the same thing to both sides, right, to be able to have an agreement, which is why they're called terms, because then you know you're talking to the legal definition, which is why when you look at those statutes, things like that at the very beginning, it says the following terms, which tell you the legal term, right, not the word. A term is a word, but a word is not necessarily a term. So I said a word can be up and down. So the point of all that I'm getting at is people, for one thing. If you go and look it up in an old law dictionary, you'll see that it starts out almost a page long. I read Black's Law, second edition originally. People is like a whole page, and it's just the last little paragraph at the bottom. And the beginning, the first part, it sounds like it's talking about the people on the streets, the common everyday, people. It says the last paragraph was something along the lines of, but in regards to the political power in the states, it's talking about a select group of individuals, or something like that, elite select group, or I forget exactly, it's been quite a few years since I read it. But what it's pointing out is that the people doesn't, in regards to the government structure, doesn't include all the people. It's an elite select group of individuals kind of thing, because it's the Romans. It's what most people don't realize. It's all the kings and queens of the presidents of the United States, every single one of them. They're all Romans. They're descendants of the Romans. And it's Roman law that's being used on you. You know this because if you look again at the meaning of civil law is Roman law. So you know you're under Roman law because the States is a civilized nation, isn't it? Any civilized nation is going by the Roman rule of law. And Germany are all civilized nations. You know, the UK is just telling you right now. When I was saying like this completely different layer of law. Do you ever watch that movie Avatar? Okay, that movie is all about what I'm explaining to you. It's all about international law, right, from the very beginning to the very end, actually. So, see, the thing Indian or direct descent of Indian are Indian, and you are international in nature. Indians actually created international law. There's so much history that people don't know about and aren't aware of. But India goes way back in history. Even the Greeks in the Coptic language, like thousands of years ago. People think that Columbus discovered India in 1492, and he didn't discover nothing. There was already trade agreements going on thousands of years before the supposed discovery. The reason that I'm getting at them is there are only three classes of physical beings under international. That is savages, persons, or an inhabitant. 1, 2, 3. So an inhabitant is a third world citizen, meaning that they have no legitimate clan mother system of government. So for example, a chief and council system of government on a reserve, which is a democratic system of government, right, where you vote for the chief and council. So there's no legitimate clan mother system of government in that system, right? Because you've got this elected system of government. So that would mean that they're third world as a third world nation, which is why, literally, all treaty Indians, as they call themselves, and think of them as the treaties that get thrown to the prisoners of actual legal classification. Because they no longer know who they are. Because if they really knew who they are, they're members of their own tribe, sovereign tribe. They existed long before the states and the white man ever came to North America. Well, that framework, tribe still exists. It's just the people are no longer occupying it. They're all registered, listed as treaty Indians on their reservation roll list. They call them list of a reservation. They're all classified as prisoners of war with the attached conditions of alienation, severality, and guardianship on them. Now, so that's the third world citizen. Treaty Indian reserve is a concentration camp, briefly speaking. So then you have the person. The person is your average Joe on the street who doesn't know who he is. Like if you've been into the law somewhat, then you know what a big person is. For example, the mask, the artificial legal fiction, right? Something that doesn't exist in the real world. Make-believe. Most people on the street think that they are a person. If you ask them, are you this person? They would say yes, which is, like I said, the forked tongue, because to common people on the street, that's what we each are, right? Persons. But it's actually technically defined as an artificial legal fiction. It is make-believe. It doesn't exist in the real world. How can living but being be something that doesn't exist in the real world? Well, you can, but if you say you are, then you're obviously mentally incompetent. You're an imbecile, aren't you? By your own words, you see, you are undone. That's why then judges ask those types of questions, those tricky questions. They're entrapment. Because the judge has no jurisdiction over you until you give it to him. Examine, are you this person? Well, you say yes. What did I just say? Living being and an artificial entity. You say yes, well, you just prove yourself mentally incompetent. The judge is going to have to take care of you. Where do you live? You give him a fictional address. In their make-believe world, you just gave him jurisdiction. Do you understand the charges? They always ask. Understand, stand, under, comprehend, seize and grasp. He's asking you, do you accept the bill? If you say yes, and then decide to fight it, well, you're in dishonor because you already said you were going to, you understood the charges. And it's all voluntary because lots of when you're entering a plea, what does he ask you first? Are you entering this plea voluntarily? I'm just pointing out, all these things that are obvious to some people, but actually is aware of, the fiction that's being portrayed and used as opposed to being a live flesh and blood being. So that's why they say they have no power over you until you give it to them. And they do that with those questions, hoping that you will answer in a manner that will give them jurisdiction. Now, like I was saying, three classes of physical beings: inhabitants, which is what most Indians are classified as right now. Persons, the average Joe on the street. Then you have a sub-classification of the person, which is known as a private person. And in the civilized Roman rule of law, the private person is the royalty, which is why the Queen of England and all the different kings and queens of Europe are private persons. They're not just persons, they are private persons. Person also means imitator. So within the civilized rule of law, they are the royalty, but they're still only imitating. Then you have what's known as a savage. Remember they used to call the Indians savages, didn't they? A lot of people think of it as a derogatory term. It's a bad thing. What they failed to realize and understand is that savage is the correct legal term for a sovereign Indian. Because if you're a savage, savage comes from the word silvictus. Silvictus means those who live amongst the trees. And if you're living amongst the trees, then you're living under the natural law. And when you look at nature, with different animal kingdoms, you look at a herd of horses, a tribe of elephants, there's a head matriarch. You've got the queen bee, the queen ant. Geese, when they fly, led by a female. Deer, moose, elk all have a head matriarch. The wolves, everybody's heard of the alpha male, but not many seem to be aware of the alpha female that actually runs the pack. So what I'm pointing out is in nature, clan has a head clan mother, a head matriarch, that rules is the law.
And here is part 2. I don't think we'll get through all 3 parts, and I will upload what we don't get to into a special episode.
Dispute as to whether the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota were matriarchal. Can you explain about Meredith's background and also about some actual Lakota, Dakota, Nakota history?
Well, I can't get too much into their actual history other than I know for without a doubt that they were all matriarch. Every tribe in the world. I mean, that's part of the creation story. The tribes, each tribe of the world was put in its own quarter to take care of its territories. White tribe, red tribe, yellow tribe, black tribe, and they were all matriarchal. If you understood what I was just pointing out about in nature, you find matriarchal systems of government, which is why you were called savages, because you had at that time still had clan mothers, clans, the head clan mother, who were the law. Thus were savages. Now you don't. You've got Indians that don't use that system, so they're not savages. They're inhabitants. An inhabitant is a third world citizen. 2 is over 1. 2 can do to 3 whatever it wants by law. This is getting into what I'm talking about, the stamps issues in the Constitution, things like that. The Constitution has nothing to do with you. You don't even qualify. You don't meet the criteria to be one of the persons, people that it talks about anyway. If you are regarded as an animal.
Well, yes, let's talk about this point because
Terms and conditions, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the language, right? This is where the deception comes from. Because even the simplest and or and if have huge legal implications. You know, in the short 2-letter words, right?
Even legally speaking, for you to tell me that the Constitution doesn't apply for me, if I remain silent, then your argument could be you tacitly agreed that the Constitution didn't apply to you because you didn't object. So I'm just going to formally object here. It does apply. It applies to all people.
Okay, but this is where we back up to it. Go and look up the meaning of the word people. A capitalized P and a lowercase p make a difference as well. Like once you become aware, so I don't know if you're aware of what I mean by that, even how you spell people, if it's spelled with an uppercase or a lowercase, two entirely different things do not mean the same.
Be different. Although the federal and the local systems, I would say from what like the way that the local courts tend to rule would be in the manner that you're speaking of, and the way that the real courts tend to rule would be in the manner that I'm speaking of. The federals are more inclined to be directly of the Constitution, whereas the locals would be directly tied more so back to that central bank, but and therefore the Roman law.
I don't think you understand our status. I think there's more of a legal history conversation, Eagle, that needs to happen.
There is systems. I wanted to, I was going to ask, please, sir, was it on the Great Matriarch where he explains about it's in the Dakota Proclamation. There's so many different, see, I understand where you're coming from, distance, but let me get, what makes you think if you're an Indian, direct descent of Indian, what makes you think that this foreign thing has anything to do with it if you come from your own tribe? See what I'm getting at here?
You're asking
how does this thing have jurisdiction over you? There is a root exact, you know what I mean? If that is the case, how is it achieved? How has that come about?
I thought the Constitution was more put in place to help give the people of this land a stronger defense against the exact system that the Roman system, because they realized, the founding fathers realized what our generation and what they were up against, and that they were creating a political tool that would keep us from being absolute indentured servants. And in 1608, when the royal families began shipping thousands of Europeans over as packages under the Virginia Company of London, and then when they reached the shores, they opened up sealed envelopes announcing who would be in charge of the county corporations and who would not, who would the landowners were pre-selected by the company. And the people that when they put together the Constitution, it was in rebellion. The only purpose of those vice admiralty courts was to create profit for shareholders for a family overseas. So then when the Pilgrims came over and they signed their first treaties with the Wampanoag tribe, they were signing that on behalf of King James, whereas that's exactly who the persons who constituted the Constitution in order to make it so that all people have it doesn't matter what color, race, skin, all that stuff. All people have inalienable rights, and
That's what I understand what you're saying.
Thomas Jefferson's writings
And they
are
got
very,
a lot
very
of
clear
that.
about that.
They got a lot of that from the Algonquin Iroquois Confederation and from the tribes.
From the Indian anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing is though, Distance, yes and no. When you said like it's not a thing, first thing you got to really understand is who you are up against. And yes, it is racist. The world of law, international law, it's written for the Romans themselves. They regard every race outside of their own as an inferior race. That's number one thing. First you got to understand who it is you are actually up against and what it is you are dealing with. It's like Meredith says, it's not a happy world. Go down the line and down. It's a world of law to the letter of the law. I am a savage. Okay? I believe in the Creator's system of government. Got a head grandmother of my clan. A savage is remote from human, meaning I am not a human being. And once you realise they use your own words against you. For instance, you might have had thoughts at some point about using the Declaration of Monster Rights, human rights, I believe, right? Geneva Declaration of Human Rights. A lot of people point to that and think and talk about that, don't they? Only applies to white people anyway. And human means monster. Well, do you know what the human means, monster?
I think the moment that you accept that it only applies to white people, you just stuck in a terms and conditions that's not in there.
You just
Hakuna Matata. We're all in this together. What I'm saying is that the system he's talking about does exist. That's the international system that Spain, France, and England were all operating under. The Constitution is designed specifically to help free people from that system. The Confederation...
Okay, that's a myth. Let us explain. No, yeah, I understand the myth of the Holy Constitution and how it's going to save us. Eagle, and always as a solution bearer, when I give you bad news, I always follow it up with the good news. Okay, so we have more than the Constitution behind us. Eagle, would you explain?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to cover. But I got one question for you, okay? See, in regards to like what you're saying about the Constitution, what it was set up for and what have you, right? Are you aware that the United States is still a colony of England? Or do you
I don't agree to those terms and conditions.
Okay, that's not, I didn't ask you whether you agreed though, right? It doesn't matter whether you agree or not.
I do see where historically, I am aware that since the inception of the United States and the Constitution, that our governments have continually been subverted by the interests from within the English Empire that was operating underneath the Roman Empire. Does that mean that, but every case of situation where that infiltration occurred and something unconstitutional happened, an unconstitutional act of Congress, for instance, we can file notice of constitutional question on those acts. That just because extortion got commit early on doesn't mean that that was a constitutional act. It means we got infiltrated and the criminal never had charges filed on them. But today we thankfully have Rule 5.1, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, which can overturn any act of Congress ever. I think it's time we start scouring the code so we can actually gain what we were supposed to have rather than the subverted form of it.
Okay, but it doesn't apply to you. That's the whole point. I can quote, not off the top of my head, but I mean, I can look up and give you the different court cases where it talks about how you are not a party to the Constitution when different people support the Constitution, and the judges of outright told them, yes, you're not. Who's it signed by? It's only signed by those 56 guys. And if you read carefully what it talks about, it talks about their posterity. It may sound like I'm being picky, right? But what I'm trying to get across to you is it is a world of law to the exact letter of the law. And you have to read that thing as if you were actually understanding the words, their legal terms. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with them or not, because that's totally irrelevant, because that meaning of that term has been fixed and settled and used for over thousands of years. It's been used.
This exact thing you're talking about is why we cleared independence from that system and built a constitution that got continually subverted. subverted.
Okay, can you tell me how
It's absolutely atrocious. Why would anybody agree to that? I don't agree.
Okay, but it doesn't matter whether you agree or not. So that's what I'm getting at. That
Yeah, it does, because I'm not going to enter into a contract agreement with the contract agreement that I would never agree to the terms and conditions of. I therefore
It happened at your
overtly
birth.
object.
It happened at your birth certificate. It's a done deal. We're trying to get out of it.
I've heard this argument as well. And on one side, there's a bank note on the red letters of a bank number that associates you with the central bank. On the other side is the symbols of the United States government. There's a dual claim on you. It's not all a single claim. And one side says that I own this person at a bank, and the other side says this person's going to, their inalienable rights will protect them from that side. Either we're going to be, so I think we ought to be disseminating knowledge in such a way that helps realize those systems are actually separate, but there's been that bunk legal advice being poured like sludge into the minds of our civilianry that that's all one system and the government owns you and it's a central bank and it's all one system, and the appearance that has been making it look like that's all one system has been used to continue that subversion rather than explain to people what system we actually do have.
That's where you run into the problem there, Destiny. What system that people think they have, because a lot of people think that they have this thing called a constitution that they can rely upon, not realizing that it doesn't apply to them. You are not, from a chance. It's a world of law, and I said like a savage is not a human being, because it's remote from human. These terms have meanings. It literally, how you describe yourself is what they'll use against you. For instance, what I'm getting at, depending on whichever tribe you come from, you will have your own language, right? And in your own language, how you call yourself is going to be, that is the actual original term of who you are. Your own people's, language in your own tongue, how you describe yourself. That has jurisdiction.
On the Civil Litigation Handbook of Southern California, there's a section in it where it explains how the judges are required under federal law. They're required to, if somebody has no formal legal training, they are required to go by what that person means and what the law actually is. And I realized that that can be construed, what I just stated, under the terms in which you're stating, can be construed in a multitude of ways. It can be construed by in an attorney sort of statist attorney sort of way where it would be used directly against, or it could be stated in another manner, which would be to set that person free based upon the spirit of the law. And that spirit of the law, if a person is telling me, no, you're not free based on this, that other system, the Masonic Cyclopedia, in many ways is outdated. There's any of those deceptive terms or anything like that, that is, you're getting, it's, when there's a deception like that that's being used, it is incumbent upon every individual in there, based on the spirit of the law, to protect that person from any sort of abuse that might come in under that. And to perpetuate that, by saying the Constitution doesn't apply to you.
Let's go back to the history lesson.
Okay,
Eagle.
If we talk hypothetically for a second, just imaginary, right? But what I'm telling you is an absolute, true legal fact, okay? The reason I'm asking you to just hold that in your mind as a possibility is because I can direct you to the site of a guy whose handle was the Informer. He's a 40-year researcher. I've got all the black and white, everything I just explained to you and stuff is not an opinion, it's not even up for debate. It's an absolute cold, hard, legal truth. Okay? And this is what I come up against, because I do come up against people that are intelligent and knowledgeable in law and that, but they're not grasping the fundamental. There's something deeper. None of that applies to you, period, anyway. If you come from your own tribe, tell me, why are you in the domestic court of a foreign nation for any matter whatsoever?
And this applies particularly to the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota, which is why we keep having this conversation, to educate. We get a lot of, we're deprogramming people from the matrix.
Yep. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. Distance, like when you reference anything, the different states, this legislation, what have you. So what? That has nothing to do with you, because you're not one of theirs. You come from your own tribe, your own sovereign nation.
Now, there are people, sorry to interrupt, there are people in the Americas who understand this within the free movement, who are tracing their bloodlines to show that they are descendants of the Constitution. There are those people, Eagle.
Yes, that would be the posterity that's mentioned in the document.
Right.
But their posterity, you understand what posterity is?
And they're trying to get their hands back on the Constitution. But there's a deeper problem which goes back to the fact that all these are Indian lands, savage lands. Could you give the, and by the way, Distance has been doing a wonderful job of cataloging treaty violations and putting them up online, which I thought you'd enjoy, Eagle.
But then again, you see, that's where we run into that forked tongue treaty. See, Distance, a lot of the Indians are calling treaties are not a treaty. They're technically what's known as a treatise. A treatise is an international agreement. Because it's an international agreement, it can be called a treaty. But if you look at how a treaty is defined, technically, it says an agreement between two sovereign nations. And there was a period, I got that from the United Nations website years back, there was a section of explanations, definitions of words. The very first word was treaty. Treaty. An agreement between two sovereign nations, and then a period. Now, the word of law to the letter of the law, the grammar is the law of the language, how to use it. That period ends that sentence. Period. That's it. But then the sentence went on to say, but, I love that word, but any international agreement can be called a treaty. Now this is where you run into the problem, you see, because you've got in Canada treaties 1 to 11, while they were signed with Indians. The very fact that they're signed with Indians makes them international agreements. So they can be called a treaty. But does that mean that they're an agreement between two sovereign nations? It just means that they are international agreements, so they can be called a treaty, but it doesn't put them inside that first sentence where the period ended, an agreement between two sovereign nations. The thing is, what is a sovereign nation? Seems like hard for people to grasp sometimes, yes, not really, but clans, with a head clan mother who picks a chief to speak on her behalf and has citizen membership to her clan. That is a sovereign system of government. That's the only thing the Queen of England and the other kings and queens of Europe recognise and acknowledge. I got the paperwork showing that because there's Indians who did their paperwork to the Queen of England 20 years ago, command her to do certain things. She wrote back and acknowledged, look up the meaning of the word acknowledge, legal meaning in an old law dictionary. She owned up to admitted responsibility for. So what I just told you is a bunch of Indians wrote to the Queen of England and commanded her. She did exactly as she was commanded to do. I mean, if that doesn't pique your interest and get your attention, and what I'm trying to get across to you is all this stuff I'm telling you is not an opinion. Okay? I learned from an international legal advisor who was registered at the United Nations as an international legal advisor. What I'm explaining to you is law. And like I said at the beginning, there's a whole deeper level of law that people aren't even aware of. But you've got to be aware of the history of events that have happened in the last few thousand years, how that relates to the Indian treaties that have been signed with the Romans thousands of years ago that they're still bound by, but you can only hold them to their treaty if you're the same kind of Indian that signed it. See, for example, I'm talking about there was a treaty signed by the Romans in 408 AD. It was an unconditional surrender because they were beaten in warfare by the white tribe. We defeated them because we came to you guys first to ask for help. This is where the international started. Before you would help us, we had to sign treaty with you as if you defeated us in warfare, even though there was no. That was known as the Noah's Ark treaty, not like in some storybook. The yellow tribe and the black tribe also came, because we were all having tribal peoples over in Europe having trouble with the Romans going around making slaves out of tribal peoples, murdering, killing, and taking over territories. So we banded together and came over here to ask you guys for help. So that was Noah's Ark, Seal of Solomon, Palladium of Troy treaty signed with the white, yellow, and black tribe. And the three on the Indian side, North American Indian, was your wampum belts, chains of authority, and peace pipe treaties. So there you see you have 6 treaties that are the very basis of the foundation of international law, from which all law of civilized nations comes from. Half of international law is tribal custom and usage, which is what the white man has to follow, which is what they do. They've got clans, clan mothers of their own. Like Meredith says on that movie, don't kid yourself, the white man knows what clan mothers are. He's got clan mothers of his own that he has to listen to. And they do. And that's the only thing that those other women will recognize as another queen. These are the terms, queens. A head grandmother in the English is a queen. The chief king speaks on her behalf. She's still the law. He just speaks her mouthpiece. He's meant to be a peasant of the people. That's what a true chief is, right? To serve the people, help the people, servant of the people, chosen by the woman for that job. If you have that system of government, return to it. You're no longer a prisoner of war. You're not in the American domestic courts because they've got nothing to do with you. Those courts only apply to what they have subject matter jurisdiction over, which is prisoner of war Indians. If you take yourself off that tribal involvement list and go back to your sovereign tribe, clan and tribe, you start thinking as a sovereign nation. You speak to the other nations of the world on a diplomatic basis, the same as any of the other nations talk to each other. You see what I'm getting at? The United States and those different states and things have no bearing relevance to you as a sovereign Indian on your tribe's territory whatsoever. Because none of them exist anyway, they're all legal fictions. And you're standing on your land, your tribe's territory. And they know that. The only difference in mind and understanding is if you say you live in USA or whichever state, or you say, I'm living on the territory of my tribe. Because one puts you as a savage, which means you command them. That's one thing, this is what I'm explaining to you, the true power that you have as American Indian clan mothers. You are the law, the last remaining unextinguished sovereignty. Your sovereignty has never been defeated through warfare.
It's like waking up. It's like waking up Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, as American Indian clan mother, head clan mothers, that's what the civilized recognize as queens. That's what they themselves use. That's why they called you savages, because savage means royalty. Means you've got clan mothers. So, 408 then, after we signed that treaty with you, you gave us whatever it was he says we needed to know to go back and defeat the Romans, which we did. They signed the unconditional surrender. There was different terms and conditions to it. One of them was that they had to do everything humanly possible to protect tribal custom and usage. Note the word human being because that is how they, the Romans, described themselves. So they're bound to do everything to protect you. Well, get this. This is 408 AD. The head chief of the Americus Empire, North and South America, was in Rome at the signing of that treaty and was a signatory to that treaty. Remember I said Indians go back a long way in history. They weren't just discovered 500 years ago by Columbus. Columbus had detailed maps of the coastline and where he was heading to before he ever even left the port. See, there's so much more. There's more to the big picture, the jigsaw puzzle, right? People aren't even aware of the pieces to this puzzle. Because, I mean, it takes hours, right, to explain just all the history stuff, how it all relates and ties up.
Which treaty was that?
It was known variously to most different tribes. The Eagle Bowl, Camel's Eye of Isis Treaty. That was in 408. And, like I said, at that point in time, see, the matriarchal, and some people say, like, well, we were never matriarchal. Well, 1600 years ago, the head matriarch of the entire Americus Empire, that's how your empire was known, right? Americus, C-U-S, Americus Empire. There was a single head clan mother, like there's a head clan mother for each clan. Clans make up a tribe, there's a head clan mother for the entire tribe as well. And I guess, it just worked its way to, there was, at one point, a single head clan mother for the entire North and South America, the entire empire. And at that point in time, it was a Dakota head clan mother. So the chief over there was a Dakota chief, because it was her chief. He was signed on behalf of all the Indians in the Americus Empire. But, see, he had a matriarchal system of government. He was a savage, according to the language that we're talking. For you to benefit from that treaty, where they have to protect you, you have to be the same kind of Indian that signed it. So if you're not using your clan mother system of government, then you're not the original. That treaty doesn't apply to you, even though you are the direct descendant of the legitimate tribe and government that signed treaty. See, that's what happened with all these treaties. You actually look at it, the Indians took themselves out of their own sovereign system of government, formed a new system of government where you vote for a chief, and then signed agreements with the white man that are called treaties. The reason why those are not treaties and are treatises is because the Indians took themselves out of their sovereign system of government, formed a new system. When they did that, they left their sovereignty behind. The Indians that signed those agreements didn't give up their sign away anything. They didn't have the authority to sign away anything because they were no longer using forces to Mrs. Head Grandmother. Simple as that. When they changed their system of government, they left their sovereignty behind. That's how you actually take back your land. Cession, jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction. Because believe it or not, distance, whatever piece of the state you're standing on, as it's known, there is a white race grandmother that's holding cession jurisdiction to that territory, holding title territory that you're standing on. The reason she's doing it is because you're not. You have the lawful right as the landlords, title holders to the territories, territorial jurisdiction. Because this thing is under international law. The only way you could lay claim to territory is with clanland. That's why you've got a white race Roman grandmother claiming the title to your territory. Because the women that have the right to do it aren't, for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? That's the legal situation you're in at the moment. Like I say, if you watch Lisa has that, there's a video Meredith Quinn did, video.
I think I sent it to you, Distance. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it yet.
Well, we're only going to have time in this episode for the first two parts of the conversation between Eagle and Distance. And Eagle asked Distance if before we continue this conversation, if she would watch the video of Meredith Quinn speaking. It's a 6-part video, and listeners, I would also ask all of you to watch that as well, and it is posted on a Facebook page called Universal Law, The Writings of Meredith Quinn. And I would ask everyone between now and next Saturday, when we continue our Standing with Standing Rock, Savage Sovereignty and Water Protectors gathering, that you would listen to Meredith Quinn, who was the grandson of the last great matriarch of the Dakotas. Thank you for listening to the Earth Aid program today. Join us tomorrow, Sunday, December 18th, from 12 to 2 p.m., when our guest will be Sky Blue of the Federation of Intentional Communities, to become part, or the Fellowship of Intentional Communities, to become part of the Utopian Reality Slope Earth Aid mission. Contact White Buffalo Nation at gmail.com and visit wbnslope.weebly.com and our White Buffalo Nation Facebook page, and support the Slope mission at gofundme.com/slope. Your contributions help keep this mission going as we work to get solutions to all the people and life on Earth. And we are going to close with a song by Tony Palmer and the Braves called Red Man's Blues. Tony Palmer is a Lakota singer-songwriter, and this is just about my favorite album next to the work of Neil Young.
It was all our people that died. You don't see no long list of feds and death squad members and any of these other people. You don't see any long list of their dead. You see a long list of our dead, and you look at that list, and every one of them's got an Indian name.
All the promises heaven
Thank you for joining us. Together, let's sustain life on planet Earth. That's yours, mine, and all of ours, on and in the land, waters, and air. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, this is Siava, Lisa Wolf for Slope. Save and sustain life on planet Earth. Earth Aid now. Let's give the Earth and all her children freedom from fear, lack, and degradation, and bring a utopian reality now.
Hi, this is Maury Moreland Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Yes, while Geico could help you rack up more moolah faster than you can say metamorphosis, they've also been the fastest growing auto insurer for more than 10 years. That's more like it. Furthermore, Geico has fast and friendly claim service. That might seem like an oxymoron, but it's not. All the more reason to say no other auto insurer has more than Geico. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.